Where did this come from? Where does Omer Shem Tov and countless other simple Jews we've read about, we've heard about, that are willing and were sacrificing their life, where did they get this strength from? The Jewish soul, if somebody has a real Jewish soul, is unlike anything else in the world. And we see that from the stories of self-sacrifice, mesirut nefesh, that Jews were willing to make in order for them to not cross the line. There was a story that's been publicized in recent days about one of the hostages, a guy by the name of Omer Shem Tov, who was a hostage in Gaza, and the terrorists told him that he could save his own life by waiting in the cave for the Israeli soldiers to come in, and as soon as they come in, to blow up the cave. And that's how he's going to save his life. And if he doesn't do it, they'll kill him.
הם שמו מלכודים, בעצם בבית שהיה מעל המנהרה. אז אמרו לי, עומר, שחיילים מגיעים לבית הזה, אתה מפוצץ. ואז אמרתי להם, לא הולך לקרות. ואז אמרו לי, מה זה לא הולך לקרות? אמרתי להם, לא הולך לקרות, אני לא הולך לעשות את זה. ואז אמרו לי, אתה לא תעשה את זה, אנחנו נראה לך בראש. אמרתי להם, אז תראו לי בראש. לא מתכוון לעשות את זה. לא יקרה.
Now, I don't know if Omer Shem Tov knows about the three cardinal sins where, it's best a person die, or they have to die and not make those sins. One of them being Chilul Hashem, by serving an idol. One of them being the immorality, and the third one being murder. You're not allowed to kill somebody in order to save your life. Now, I don't know if Omer Shem Tov knew this, but his Jewish neshama certainly knew it. And he told the terrorists that under no condition is he willing to kill his fellow Jews that are going to be coming into the cave, even if that means that he's going to die right there and then. And of course, when these terrorists were threatening to kill, they weren't joking, but B'siyata Dishmaya, his life was spared and he was able to live to tell the story. In a world where a person dedicates all of their life to Hashem and to learning His Torah, and somebody sacrifices their life for it, you can understand why they did it, because they lived their whole life doing that. But when you have people that are not exactly Shomrei Shabbat, they're not exactly religious, they don't really know much about the Torah or Hashem, but they're willing to do the same sacrifice, not just to save their fellow Jews, but even to save their faith in Hashem, however small or big it is. It shows you that there's something beyond what you're able to see. This is the reason why when I speak to people that ask me about how to help people do TeShuva, how to rebuke family members, friends, and so on, or if they have issues with different people that are currently not observing Torah and mitzvot, I always tell people that it's best for them to send them my lectures than to speak to them, because many times people do not know how to speak, not because they don't know how to speak the language, but simply they don't have communication skills. So their rebuke sounds more like attacking, judging, hatred, and many times people do tshuva and build this chip on their shoulder, start to hate all of their old family friends, which is the exact opposite of what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to help their family and friends, not hate them. But unfortunately, this is a common thing. And one of the things that you have to acquire in your life if you want to serve Hashem properly, and if you want to help people do tshuva, is you have to love Jews. You have to love Am Yisrael. Now, a person says, well, but this person doesn't keep Shabbat. This person is, committing immorality. Sure, He's sinning. But is he an enemy of God intentionally or out of ignorance? And there's a very big difference. Either way, a person, if he dies that way, certainly he's going to get punished. There's no question about that. And those that say otherwise are simply lying to you and to themselves. But if a person wants to help somebody, they have to know the essence of what's behind their lack of observance. What's behind their lack of interest in the Torah. Is it simply addiction to sins, to immorality, or is it actual heresy where they hate the Torah? They are enemies of the Torah. In a sefer called Bikrovai Yikadesh by a Rabbi Yoshua Eibeshitz, on page 22, he has a story that one of the survivors from the Holocaust told about their friend, their beloved, a man by the name of Yechiel Machek. Now, Machek wasn't really his last name. That was just his nickname. They called him Machek. But they said that Machek was Kadosh. Why was Machek Kadosh? Because after they escaped the concentration camps, they couldn't go very far. They would hide in the woods, in the forests. And the evil Nazis, Yimach Shemam V'Zichram, were relentless in trying to find these, what they considered rebels, these Jewish survivors. And one of those times, they caught Machek, but they didn't want to kill him. They wanted him to disclose where are the rest of the Jews hiding in the forests. If you tell us, we'll spare your life. And Machek, who before the Holocaust was a simple Jew driving a truck, wasn't a huge Torah scholar, wasn't known as a big tzaddik, wasn't known as a mekubal, but by his friends in this story, he was known as Kadosh. Why? Because Machek knew exactly where his fellow Jews were hiding, in the forest. But no matter how much torture and torment the Nazis put upon him, he refused to tell them where it is. And he ended up dying from the torture. Dying on Kiddush Hashem, saving his fellow Jews. Now again, if Machek was a prophet, if Machek was an extraordinary tzaddik, mekubal, willing to die on Kiddush Hashem, it would be understandable. You lived your whole life serving Hashem, you're close to Hashem, you're understanding the purpose of life, you understand that there's an afterlife, a reward for the righteous, a punishment for the wicked. So therefore, to die over here by these evil monsters, it's not a big deal. Well, theoretically speaking, it's always a big deal. But the point is, there is the understanding that life doesn't end here. This is just a chapter. But Machek wasn't that. Machek was a simple Jew. But a simple Jew that endured endless suffering and torture from the Nazis, Yimach Shemam V'Zichram, just to save his fellow Jews from the same death that ended up taking him out of this world. Where did this come from? Where does Omer Shem Tov and Machek and countless other simple Jews we've read about, we've heard about, that are willing and were sacrificing their life, where did they get this strength from? We are meant to be a light unto the nations, not to follow their misguided practices. Remember, every Jew has to remember that he's a Jew and she's a Jew. We don't celebrate non-Jewish holidays, even if they seem harmless.